Welcome, everyone. I'm Bridget Bartlett. I am the founder of My Vision Agency, and today is our Friday group coaching session. And we actually were going to have Ian Scott with Brand Blast here, but he had to cancel at the last minute. So I actually was talking to Tony today in our meeting, and we thought it would be a really cool idea to talk about Zapier and the different ways that we can use Zapier, because I know a lot of people in here have maybe not used Zapier, but understanding Zapier is such a great way for you to basically say yes to issues, right? So let's say you're in a meeting with a client and they're like, yeah, but we're already using this software. How would I get that to talk to HighLevel? Zapier is going to be the solution to most of those problems. It's also great for you and your own personal processes to be able to, you know, automate a lot of these things. Like if you need to send data to a Google spreadsheet, or you want to, update your Google Calendar on a specific, like when an action takes place. So that's really what the power of Zapier is. So I want to share my screen now. I want to make sure that you guys know how to get access to the meeting. So you do need to be a reseller in our program to join us on Fridays. Let me share my screen here. And to join, what you want to do is go into the community here. You want to go to the events calendar, and you'll just click on today's date, and you can join me right in the Zoom meeting. Okay. If you're in our free community, you can, of course, watch. We are live streaming everywhere, so you will have the ability to do that. You just can't join unless you're a member. I did want to show you guys, if you did want to join, you can go to myvisionagency.com. You can join here for free. If you are you want to sign up for your own HighLevel account, you can do that using my affiliate link. If you want to join and you're already a HighLevel member, you can sign up here. You can also sign up for our software bundle if you just want to use all of our tools. That does not include the reseller program, though. Just be mindful of that. And then here is the link to our free community or to book a private consultation. I did want to also tell you guys, if you go to bridgetbartlett.com/event, you will go to the link here to register for the Next Level Women in Software event that is taking place all of next week. You'll see my face in the back there. I will be presenting on Tuesday, if you guys want to check that out. Coincidentally, March 13th is my birthday, so what a great way to celebrate by being in the Women of Software. That's so cool. But anyway, you guys can register there. It is free, so why not register, right? I don't want to tell you what I'm talking about, but it's going to be good. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing here, make sure that everyone has access. And do you guys want me to share the link to this? I'll share the raw link here in the chat so you can register if you're interested. Oh, Rick says, can you post it? I'm already on it, Rick. I was reading your mind. I felt the vibes coming in. All right, so you guys, I want to ask first, do you specifically have, so before we even start talking about Zapier, do you specifically have a use case where you're like, man, I wish that I could send this data from this software to this software? Do you have a use case that you're struggling to automate that process? No? You, you guys are just everything. I think what it is you just don't even realize you can automate it. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Rick, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I do have a use case, but
Yeah,
it'll be in the little bit in the future before I'm needing it.
that's okay. What is it?
Well, it's from one software for not to another, but it's not anything that is integrated with anything. It's 20-year-old software that I have, and I will be needing to do it. And I'll probably have to be doing it, by code. I'm guessing, but
Yeah, if there's no Zap and Zapier, which it sounds like there's not,
there's not.
you won't be able to do that. But so let's just go ahead and let's go through, but you still might. It just depends on your software. Like if you
Yeah.
had a webhook, for example, if you had that capability to send data from the software using a webhook, then you could send it anywhere you wanted to.
Mhm.
So those are the kinds of things that I wanted to talk to you about, just to like open your mind to what is actually possible. Because it's like I was looking at Keck's face and he's like, yeah, that's me. It's like you just really don't even know. Sometimes you just think like, whoa, it would be so cool if I didn't have to do this step in my automations. And you don't even realize that it's an actual, there is a solution. So if you guys go to Zapier, you can create a free account. You get like 100 tasks a month on the free account. Um, but you can see here that there are apps inside of Zapier. And so everything is organized by app. So it's like you have HighLevel, which is called the Lead Connector app. And we can search for that here by going just Lead Connector, all one word. And so now that we see the Lead Connector app, okay, if that was going to be, let's say we wanted to send data from Lead Connector to another place, we could select the Lead Connector app. And let me just go ahead and click in here because it's going to start a zap for me. All right. So anytime, just like in our HighLevel workflows that we want to create an automation, we need to think about the trigger. What's the first thing that's going to happen that I want to trigger the rest of whatever I want to happen? So if you want to use the Lead Connector app and you want to send data from HighLevel to some other place, you'll see here that we have the option when a pipeline stage has changed. So that means that that's it, right? You can't, let's say when you add a tag to someone, trigger the automation in Zapier. All right. Now there's ways of setting all of that up, and that's really where the magic comes in with automation is and if this is our only trigger option, maybe we want to set up an automation in HighLevel where it's like we add the tag, we add a note, we do this and that, and then the next step could be sent to a webhook or something like that, right? So for us to send or get into Zapier information from Lead Connector, the only way for us to do that is to trigger a pipeline stage changed. Okay. Are you following me here? Do you have any questions? I was excited to go through this with you guys, like being able to talk back to me, because there are a lot of this can get super complicated, especially if you've never used Zapier. So I just want to make sure that you guys are following along before I go too deep into things. Do you guys have any questions so far? Keck?
Yeah, so is a webhook the same thing as Zapier? Like, is Zapier a type of webhook?
If you think of it like Zapier is more, I guess it would be more like if you imagine it like a developer. It's like your developer AI who's going to simplify the whole process. And you're going to tell your developer, Zapier, I want you, every time we do a pipeline stage change in a HighLevel, I want you to send this data to a Google Sheet. All right. Now, there's lots of things, techie things that happen in the background that you don't see. And that's why it's more like a developer helper, I guess, in a sense.
Okay.
But if you imagine like a webhook, and let's actually talk about webhooks. Let me show here, and I'll come back and get your question, Tony. It's a good question about that because webhooks are something that a lot of people have issues understanding as well. So I'm going to change the app here. Okay. And let's start with webhook. So I'm going to choose this option, and you'll see with a webhook, we have the ability to catch information. Okay. So it says if you choose a catch hook, and there are different kinds. Okay. When you choose a catch hook, it triggers when a post, put, or get response is, I don't even know what Medetto, whatever that means. I just imagine like a catch hook is like when you are pulling information from another place and you want to catch it, right? So it's kind of like that. It's like a fishing line. It just hangs out there in the water. And that would be like a catch hook. You want to catch that data because you're going to pull it in like a fish, and you're going to chop the fish up and you're going to eat it for dinner, and you're going to do whatever you want. You can disperse it, you can freeze it, you can do whatever you want with that fish or data. But we need to catch it first. And if you are doing a put or a post hook, that's sending the data. Okay, so you just need to decide, are you capturing the data or are you sending the data somewhere? That's really the difference between the hooks. So if I chose catch hook here, um, sometimes this gets a little complicated, okay? There's another way that you can do this. Let me go into my automations here, into a HighLevel workflow. Because in HighLevel, we have the same thing, right? We have webhooks. And this is an inbound webhook. So we have this right here. If we wanted to send data to another, let's say that we were using a software, and that software or Zapier, we had the ability to capture data with a webhook that we wanted to send into HighLevel, we would need to use this incoming webhook to capture the data. Once it's captured here, then we can do whatever we want to it, right? We can add a contact, we can, send an email, whatever we want to do with that data, we can do that as long as we've used that incoming webhook. Now, if I wanted to send the data from HighLevel to some other software, let me delete this, then that wouldn't be the incoming trigger. Something would have to pull that data into the HighLevel account. It could be a form, whatever you want. And then you'd have another webhook here. And then this webhook, you need to post in the link, right? So the link that we would get like from here, we would post in the link and then send that data somewhere else. So when you're talking about webhooks, it gets a little bit more complicated than a simple app on Zapier, because pulling in that webhook, you also have to then map out the data. So I would have to say, here's the title of the YouTube video. Here's the URL. Here's the email. So you'd have to map all of that out so that when HighLevel pulls in that data, it puts it in the fields you want it to go in. I know that webhooks are it's something that's kind of hard to understand. And honestly, I can use them a lot better than I understand them.
Okay. So they're not the same exact thing, but they relate to each other and work together and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. And
they're
the
the same.
creation and delivery.
Yeah, they're the same thing in the sense of it's one of the ways you can connect two different softwares and share data back and forth. So and that part of it is the same. It's just the way that you would utilize them would be different.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Mapping it's like the translation from
Yeah.
one data point to another data point.
Yeah, so it's like you pull in all this data and it shows you when you pull in from the webhook, it shows you all the data, but you have to tell it, okay, this part, when you say email and then you have this googly gop in the email, it's like we need to map that out so we tell the system like this is the email address. So we put email in the label and then we use like the field data that it's pulled in. Tony, did you have a question?
Yeah, it was about the mapping, but I think I got it. I think. But I'm gonna go over the video again. I think I got it.
Would you guys like a test on a webhook? Do you want me to set up a webhook so you can see how to do
Let's
that?
do it.
All right, cool.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be really helpful.
Okay. So let me share my screen here. All right. So first things first, we need a way to get the data into our workflow. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill out a form, and then we are going to send that data to something else. All right, so let's create a form first. And let me just use a form I already have. And we're going to call this Zapier so that I can remember which form it is. Zapier. And I want to make this really easy. So let's get rid of this. And we'll get rid of this. And let's see where it's going. We'll just say thank you. It's going to be when we submit. All right, cool. All right, so now we have this form, and let's say, of course, it's a HighLevel form. So when someone fills out this form, and let me pull this in so I have the link open. So when someone fills out this form, that data is automatically going to go into HighLevel. There's no automation there. That's just a natural thing that, when you're filling out a HighLevel form, it goes into HighLevel. But if we want to create an automation where we're going to send that data somewhere else, we need to build that into the workflow. So the first step of this would be the form. Okay, so they submit the form and we need to select the form that we want to use. And so we called it Zapier. So now I have this automation that I built when someone submits a form. And let me turn this on here so I don't forget. All right. Now the next step we would want to send to a webhook. All right, so there's two different kinds of webhooks. There's one that is a premium action, so it does use your credits and all of that. It's a little bit more advanced here. And then we have the other option. Let's look for webhook. Oops. And then we have webhook. And this is the one that most of you will use, all right? So you see here, we have the post. So we sending the data, or honestly, I don't even know how a GET response would work in this situation. Let's try this, post or GET. So see, I get confused and I use webhooks all the time, so don't worry about it. A lot of it's trial and error. So what we want to do is we have this webhook here, okay? We have the link, that's what we need, because in this workflow, we need to send it somewhere. So I'm going to choose post and we'll just test this out and then save action. All right. So now fill out the form. We're going to send that data here. Now, if I go into Zapier and I go test trigger, it's not going to pull anything in because we haven't actually done a test. It doesn't know what data that we're pulling in. So I need to fill out this form and I'm going to say Jane Doe. And let's use, I'll just choose my fake email. Actually, let's just do test because we don't need an email. At test@gmail.com. Oops. I want to put it in the right field. And we'll say 888-888-888. Okay. And button. So now we've submitted the form. So let's do test trigger again. And now you see that it's pulling in that data. Okay, so when we pulled in the data, you see we have like a calendar ID. Great, we have wait, that's not. Our response, where is that coming from? I'm using my account here and that is not the response I was looking for. All right, sorry. Let me just create a new automation here.
That's exactly what would have happened to me if I was doing it.
That about like doing live things, because you guys get to benefit of like me saying, okay, this is a problem. How do I fix it? So let's do catch. I think the post was what the problem was. So I'm going to go continue. Set up catch hook. Triggers when a post to a URL returns new entries. Is this the one that I need? We're just going to try. Okay, here we go. No, this is not right. Catch hook. Continue. Continue. All right, we have this. And let's go back to our workflow. Let's swap out this trigger. And let's save. Let's see if it'll send that same test data. Let's just fill it out again. All right, Jane. Go. 88888. And we'll say testing. The reason I'm saying testing is I just want to make sure that we pulled in new data. All right, now test trigger. And let's see this data. Okay, so continue with the selected record. Now we need to decide what are we going to do with this data. All right, now we've sent it from HighLevel, okay, in our workflow. They filled out a form. We sent that data via a webhook. Now, what am I going to do with it? I can send it to Aweber. I can send it to a Google Calendar, Google Contacts. I can send an email, update Google Sheets, Slack, Notion. I could send it to, through a filter. Like a lot of these are like really complicated. Some of these are super complicated. These though, when you choose an app, that's where it's going to be super simple. So let's say that we want to send this data. We could even like create a Facebook post if we wanted to. Let's just do that. Let's create a Facebook post. We can choose an action here. So what do I want to do with this data? Do I want to change the page profile? Do I want to create a page photo? Do I want to create page post, create a video? If I wanted to choose another app here, let's just say I wanted to send an email. We could add a label. We could create a label. We could reply to an email, send an email. Let's say continue. And if we want to send an email, we have to say, where are we sending it? So when we click here, we could say, oh, okay, well, we're going to send it to the person who filled out the form. Okay. And we know the email address because you see here, it's pulled it in here. We have testing@gmail.com. So that's the email. Now, of course, if we type it in, and we could just type in an email address, it's going to send this email to the same person every single time. And that's not typically what we want. We want to add whatever data we've pulled in here. So I would then put to whatever email is in this field. Are you guys following me along or following along with me here? Do you guys have any questions about that so far?
Yeah, so by you putting that in there, that tells it to pull from that.
Yeah, it's like if we relate it to HighLevel, it's like a custom value. It's like
Okay.
we have this custom value, and we want to make sure when we're mapping it out, it's with the newest information that we've pulled in and not just some static, like the same every time info.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Cool. Do you guys have any questions at all before we move on? Okay. Share my screen. All right, so we're going to add that email there. Do we want to, let's see, do we want to send a message to Google Contacts group label? I don't know. Do we? If you do, click yes or true. If not, leave it on false. Do you have a group that you want to send it to? In this account, I guess I have, dogs. I do have a file called dogs for my own dogs. Business clients, we can choose any of those. Do we want to add that contact to a group? Do we want to CC someone? If we want to CC someone who's sent us or that we captured in this webhook, we could, same thing, map out their email. Now, obviously, we just have one person in here and we don't need to map it out, but maybe we want every time someone fills out this form, we want to CC a member of our team. We could just type out that email here in this field. Same with BCC. We could choose from. We're going to choose the from email that's connected to this account. So let's say it's this one. The from name, again, we could type out if we want to say like our business name, because remember, they filled out a form and we are sending them an email. So what's the from name that we want to use? If we have that data in here, of course we could. And so if you see location name, I could just type in location name. And then no matter what form and what account that someone filled out, if it goes to this webhook here, it's going to fill in that location name. Okay, then we have a reply to and the subject line. Maybe we want to type this out to be the same, like, hey, thanks for filling out the form. Maybe we want to use some of this data. Maybe we want to use like a combination, like we can say, hey, and then their first name. Then we could do that. That's our subject line. Now we have the body. Do we want to use HTML or plain? I always choose plain. I'm not an HTML person. I don't really understand it. So then now we have the body. What do we want to put in this email that we're sending to Jane because she filled out our form? We could click here and we could use any of this data here to map out that information. We could also type it in here. We could say, thanks for filling out the form. And then we could even use their name, Jane. And then let's say we have your info on file. Is this correct? And let's say email. And then we'll put Jane's email. Scroll down till we see the email. You can also search up here. If I wanted to search for email, I could find it there. And then let's put a space and let's say name. And we can put first name's Jane. Let's put a space and then Doe. Now we have the signature. And it's going to pull in the signature from this account. So I'll say, cool, let's do that. We can add it to a specific mailbox if we want to. We could even add attachments to this. And once we've created that email, we're going to click continue. And then we would want to test this step. Now I used a fake email, testing@gmail.com. So I'm not going to be able to see this, but I could test the step and then it would tell me that yes, it's good or whatever, and then it's going to send an email with all of this information to this email address. So that's why I'm not going to test. I don't have access to it, but it'll go to testing@gmail.com. So that would be literally the entire step of filling out a form, sending that data to a webhook. So let's just recap here what happened. We have form submitted. We have the webhook here, which is post. So we're posting it to Zapier. And then once Zapier receives that information, then it's going to receive it here, and then it's going to map it out according to what we put here, and then send that email. Now we could also add extra actions here. So what else do you want to do with that data? Do you want to update a Google spreadsheet? Do you want to, let's say, what are some other softwares that you may want to send data to?
Slack.
Slack? All right, let's look for Slack. All right, so we could send a message to Slack. And look, when you guys see all those apps there, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are thousands of apps that you could use. It's just only showing like the most popular. I don't know if it decides like what the most popular is or what you, the user, use to show up on that screen. But so here inside of Slack, now, with this data that I just pulled in, I can create a Slack automation. So I can add a reminder, create a channel, create a private channel, delete a message, edit a message, find a public channel, get message timestamp. I can do any of these things that I want to. And that's not the end, right? Let's say find a user by email, and then I want to connect my Slack account, and I would just log in. Now, most of the time, this is what you'll see when you go to connect a new app. You'll just have to log in. Sometimes, though, it will tell you that you need your API. And so if it tells you you need your API, what you want to do is, if it's HighLevel, you're going to go into your account and you're going to go to the business profile and you're going to scroll down to where you see your API. This is for your sub account, and that's what you're going to use for most of the automations is your sub account API. Of course, the API is going to be located in whatever, it's going to be different places for every software, but don't get intimidated by the API part because that's just simply copying and pasting. It's like if you see where your API is, just copy it and then go back to Zapier and paste it. That's all you have to do. Makes sense. I would show you, but I don't have an active Slack account. Tony, did I answer your question? Since I was just speaking to you and you had a...
Yeah, I mean, like, like how Charles put the comment into QuickBooks. The reason that I brought Slack, I also was going to bring up QuickBooks is because most of the people that I'm talking to, I noticed that there was that integration with QuickBooks and Go HighLevel initially. I've told that inside Go HighLevel is not the greatest. How is the implementation with QuickBooks like the same? Is that kind of like what you were talking about, Charles? Just the implementation into QuickBooks?
Yeah, let's pull up the QuickBooks app and we'll see what is available. Sometimes it's hard for me to, if I don't have the app, I can't really show you how to do it, but let's see what's available inside of QuickBooks. Okay, so QuickBooks Online, let's see what options are available. So we can create a bill. We can create a bill that's item-based, create a bill again. I don't know how that's different. Create a credit memo, a customer, create a deposit, employee, create an estimate. We can do all of these things inside of QuickBooks with this
So
automation.
I'm sorry. So let me get this right. So if you have a QuickBooks account, you can go from QuickBooks and any of that data that you have in QuickBooks, you could ship it over to the Zap. And then from the Zap, you can create a webhook inside Go High Level as a get webhook and then have that information put into Go High Level.
So you have to be mindful of your trigger, okay? Because not all of the automations are available as an action or a trigger. Okay. So if I go here, like I just showed you what we could do with QuickBooks if we're sending data to QuickBooks. But
Okay.
let's see what's available if we want to send data from QuickBooks.
Okay.
So if QuickBooks is the trigger, what's going to make this automation start working is when an estimate is emailed, a new account is added, a new bank transaction, new bill, new payment, new credit memo. Now you could do all of these things even inside of QuickBooks if you wanted to. Like you could create maybe a new sales receipt, connect your QuickBooks account or whatever, and then you could even choose QuickBooks again. And then you could choose any of these options here.
All right. So in that same line with QuickBooks, since we have Stripe connected into Go High Level, an issue that I'm finding that I'm trying to resolve is if I have a client that I send an automated Stripe bill, right? Let's say it's due on the 15th. If I send the first bill, right, reminder on the 1st,
And you're sending that from Stripe or from HighLevel?
well, let's say I want to set it up in High Level to send the automation. So on the 1st, I want that first reminder, hey, reminder, like you got a bill coming up on the 15th, right? So the 15th comes up. If they haven't paid it and the 16th comes in, I wanted to see if I could set up an automation where they can get the reminder with a late bill, but I don't think you could do that from within Go High Level. So
Yeah,
I'm wondering if you
you
could.
actually can now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you can set up reminders. That's what I wanted to go into a demo account so I can show you here. That there are in the invoice settings, if you have a failed payment or, whatever, or if you have, let's go to the payments tab here. Let's go here to settings, reminder settings. So you can set up these reminders, like here, to send emails like 3 days after the invoice is overdue, and you can adjust all of these
Okay.
before, after.
So if they do pay it on time, it won't go out, or is that automation you have to set up? Or
Um, if they pay the invoice on time, yeah, it's all linked to the invoice.
okay, man,
Yeah.
that is nice.
But to answer your question though, because maybe there's a reason that you want to set up Stripe, okay? You could actually choose Stripe here and then choose an event. So when a subscription is canceled, checkout session completed, failed payment, but we do have all this capability inside of HighLevel. But you definitely could choose Stripe as a trigger.
Okay. That's very good to know because that's an issue that I come across. So I'm sure I'm not the only one. A lot of times people don't want to put their credit card in and they want to do that, I'll pay as you go. And sometimes that's the only way you land a client. But then you got to deal with them. You're constantly having to chase them down.
Yeah, I get it. I think, Ray, did you still have your hand up?
Yeah, I had my hand up. My mind is kind of blown in different directions, all the use cases. One use case I was thinking about was with the blind carbon copy email, or with even the carbon copy, could this be used for maybe a church that has a leadership of maybe 10 people, and you wanted to send the message to all 10 of them when it comes in, or when an event occurs, you wanted to send a message to all 10 of them.
You'd
That
have to create 10 steps and then add those emails in there.
could you not use a mailing list that you have built
No,
into
you
your
have to, yeah, you have to put an email address in there. You can't do a whole list. You'd want to set up like a campaign for that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm still kind of trying to soak all this in. It's good. It's great. It's a great tool.
Yeah. Do you guys have any other questions? Anything else you want me to show you how to automate? Anything that you're like, I wonder if it does this?
Yeah. Can you tell me how I test it? I mean, just to play with it. I kind of want a sandbox, and it doesn't have to be Zapier. It could be any workflow that I want to do. How can I set up a workflow and test it and play with it?
Do exactly that.
Yeah.
Set up a
So,
workflow, test it.
so it's not going to be public or anything. I just,
Well, it all depends on what you connect. If you set up a demo account and you want to, do all that. But yeah, it's going to complete the action that you tell it to complete.
Did you say earlier that Zapier gives you a sandbox to play in 100 clicks or something?
It's not a sandbox because when you say sandbox, it's like not live. It's
Yeah.
not a live thing that happens. But you do in the free account of Zapier, you get 100 tasks. So, and then you also, when you have the paid plan, you get like some of the pro options, like the webhook option. You have to have a paid plan for things like that. But you do get 100 tasks that you can test with
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
or even use. I mean, I use the free plan a lot because I use a lot of the high-level webhooks. Anytime that's available, I use that. But there are some things like, and I can show you here in a minute, where I trigger a video based off when I add it, or I trigger a workflow based off of when I add a specific or a video to a YouTube playlist. That triggers a series of automations that I can show you as well.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I just looked. It's 100 tasks per month, so
Yeah.
you could test for a couple of months if you
Yeah.
till you figure something out. That's
Yeah.
good.
If you have something you need to automate that maybe it only happens 5 times a month, but you just think, man, so what? 5 times a month, that's free time for me, It also makes us more efficient because that's one less thing we have to do. So if that's all you need, for sure, just use that. You don't have to have a paid plan unless you need it.
Yeah, to go up the learning curve, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Keck, you have a question?
Yeah, protein bar time, so excuse any food in my
Yeah.
teeth. So I guess use case, I'm kind of right there right now as far as with the product I'm launching. So I've got a builder partner. Okay, and this isn't like in stone. I'm setting it up right now. So I've got a builder partner that basically, when I sell a Go High Level account, it will be on my builder partner's account. Okay, and they're going to build it, they're going to service it. That's why it needs to be on their account.
Mhm.
However, I get paid first. Okay, and then I pay the builder, my
Mhm.
builder partner. So the whole account creation, as far as when somebody buys this thing, I get paid, and how does it trigger the account creation in somebody else's account?
Mm.
You know
So
what I
that
mean?
is possible, but um, you do need to have the API access and all of that to be able to make that happen.
API access from both the builder account and my account.
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, they're paying you,
Uh-huh.
but the account creation is happening on their end, and you want to make sure to automate that process, right?
Yeah,
So is it your high level account? Are they managing your own account or they have their own whole separate account?
they have their own whole separate thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I would, especially if they're the techie ones,
And
I
let
would
me
say
And let me just interject so you get the full picture. And I'm considering, like, for some clients, I actually would want to maybe just refer to your software program where they will get a HighLevel account with, you have like the HL Pro Tools support for those people, right?
Mhm.
So I think some people could benefit from that, and I'd like to, if they don't need a build and manage,
Mhm.
but they're more techy, they could do it with the HL Pro Tools support in your
Mhm.
community. I'd like to be able to make the account created, through maybe my affiliate link into your thing. So
Mhm.
those are the things I'm kind of thinking of. It's like, not like, it depends on who I'm talking to, what they need.
Yeah. So the affiliate link it sounds probably even better for that situation that you have, but I don't know the whole details of that. So an affiliate link is what you get so that you don't have to worry about all that stuff, right? It's easier for the account to be created. So here's the difference. I guess this is a better way for me to explain it. So you have my plan that is an affiliate account. So what happens is you get my website that has my order form on there. They pay me, and then I pay you an affiliate commission. So really the whole sales process is happening on my end. It's just
Mhm.
being associated to you because you get that little code, as an affiliate on your own
Right.
link. But in the other scenario, what happens is they're paying you, but now you need a set of automations on the back end that will be able to trigger all of those things to take place. So what you would want, the only way that that's going to be possible is if you have their API, so that you can set up an automation, and you would actually need HL Pro Tools Zap that they have for their members. And let me show you the difference here because there are some differences for sure. So we have the Lead Connector app. Okay, this is Lead Connector. Oops, one word. So we have the Lead Connector app, and I showed you this is the trigger here. Okay. But let's imagine this is like a webhook, because that's essentially what you'd need. You'd need like something from your system to send that data to them so that they could, it would create the account. So here you would need to have like the HL Pro Tools Zap. But let me show you what's available here in the Lead Connector app so that you understand why you need that. So let's say this is a webhook, this is whatever you want it to be. Okay. Now we need to send that data from the transaction to Lead Connector. Even if you connect their agency or whatever, you have these options: add lead to campaign. This is it. Okay.
Okay.
You don't have that option to create a location, a contact, a user with all the permissions and all of those things. But you can choose here the HL Pro Tools, and then you have all of these events here. So what you're looking for is, first you would need to create the location, and then you would create the user. And that is what's going to and then, of course, you'd want to enable SaaS. So you would just need to build out this workflow to make all of those things happen. But you would want to make sure that you're using their agency API to create that location. So it definitely makes it way more complicated to do it this way, but it's not
Yeah.
impossible.
Okay. And I don't think they use HL Pro Tools. You're saying natively HL Go High Level does not have it. You would need HL Pro Tools in their little plugin here.
Yeah,
Do you know if Extendly has something similar? I think they use Extendly.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I've never used
Okay, well,
Excel.
that's helpful just in the principle that it's
Yeah.
possible, and I just kind of decide. But the affiliate's a good maybe workaround.
Yeah.
It's a
And
simple idea.
honestly, it would actually be better for them to set all that stuff up and then just give you the webhook. And then you can just set up an order form. And then as soon as they fill out the order form, that webhook triggers the account creation. And then you could, of course, notify them and notify yourself and say, hey, we have a new member, and hey, you have a new member, whatever else you want to do. So all of that from your end, when I'm thinking about the whole process and how all that would unfold, definitely better for them to set it up, give you the webhook, and then you send them the data and then have them deal with all that.
Okay, so have them set up the Zap and the hook and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's good. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm still I talked to somebody today. I did a demo and just trying to figure out what they would need as a CRM because what they had wasn't adequate, you know, how much service do they really need? So,
Hmm. Cool. And how is that, Keck? Do you feel like you're confident when you're in these meetings?
well, I'll tell you what, demoing the software itself, I mean, so far I am no good at it. You know, I ended up rolling, you know, I've got an 11-minute demo video right on the homepage. I end up just rolling some of that, which I may do in the interim to get over that. But besides that part, pretty fine. You know, everybody's seen the value in it. Again, I don't have many demos, but the idea is now I'm just, you know, I'm just doing it, you know, because it's going to suck for a while, just like doing videos. You know, I just got to do
Yeah.
it enough to where it's going to be the jam. But yeah, it's
How did you approach the demo? Did you talk a lot about features or did you like walk them through your solution?
um I asked them, you know, about their business and what they're doing and what they need, and actually try to use prospectninja.ai to find their ideal client. You know, that's one of our features, the ideal client profile. So we just try to put in their business and actually find that for them and show them through the four different search modalities how it can benefit them.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, yeah.
Cool.
So it's pretty good. Like I said, I'm not fluent in it at all at this point, but I'm just, you know, every day it gets a little better.
Mhm. Well, if you're using that system to find these clients, this is why I always say we should be our own first case study because it's magical. It's like you're using it to find your own clients and then you're booking demos and then showing them how to use it. So it's like the more you use it, the more you learn, the more confident you become in your demos and the more that they feel your confidence and the result. And the more that you are like excited about the solution because it's working for you. It's a whole different thing when you're like, "Oh yeah, it really works. It's great." And then when you're like bringing in the leads and it's like you're taking weekends off and taking your wife on vacation because you're just bawling in sales that are just rolling for you all day and you're like, "And you're going to love this because it's a
Yes.
whole different like
It's the vision.
mindset."
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that people feel that energy. Business
Oh,
owners
yeah.
feel that confidence and energy. I know you got that on lockdown though.
Yeah. Yeah. So that part of it and the talking is all good. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. Like I say, and it's not even quite ready. Like I haven't done like a big launch or anything because I'm still fixing and working with support on some things because I didn't build it, so I don't really know everything about it. But as I'm testing, I'm like this, that, this, that. So Saturday's like a massive test day where I sit in like 10 tickets and then I got to work back through them. So we're
That's
we're right
smart.
we're right there. We're
That's smart.
just
So there's
going.
two things I love that you just said. One, you're testing. That's absolutely the best way to learn. Even if somebody else built your system, you should definitely test it. One,
Hmm.
to know they did a good job, but two, so that you understand it. There's so much value
Hmm.
in learning in the testing process alone. And then the second thing I love is that you're doing demos and you haven't even really launched yet. I love
Right.
that
Right.
because you don't have to. Why wait? Get that
Exactly.
experience now. Because when you launch, if you're running ads and doing all this, then now it's like, great, you're paying for all these leads to come in, but you haven't had any experience demoing this yet. So that's
Yeah.
super smart.
And as far as approach, I'm also approaching it as with both of that I've done so far. I've set up an affiliate program for it. So
Yeah.
an opportunity for them because I know they're opportunity seekers, you know, and I set up a doc of, earnings potential with, strong disclaimer, of course.
Yeah.
So that's part of it too. So
Yeah. Cool.
yeah.
Cool. Cool. Good job.
Yeah, thanks.
Tony?
Man, that's really awesome, Keith, man. I think you're like motivating me too, man. I
Let's
wanted to
go.
ask you, when you do the demo, are you demoing the entire Go High Level, like all of it when you do the demo?
Actually, I'm only demoing the prospectninja.ai. I'm gonna let my AI leads generation software.
Okay,
So actually, that's not exactly true. That's the intent, but I did end up doing a little demo of Go High Level when we started talking CRM.
gotcha,
And
gotcha,
just a
gotcha.
little bit of showing him my account. Look at this. He was like, "Whoa!" compared to what he
Okay.
had. So but not
Okay.
not a full blown. Again, just kind of talking to what they need and just kind of letting that drive the conversation. And I'm not saying that's the best way, but that's what I'm left with at this point.
No, right.
I will say that's the best way. Keck's an experienced salesman. He's got this on lockdown, but and he's just being kind or humble or
Well,
something.
that's why I wanted to ask him. I know he dives deep into that, so I wanted to pick his brain on that one, so I was just curious,
Yeah.
before I
Yeah,
asked my,
I mean, you had the answer before you asked the question, though. It's not about just the feature dump and tell them everything it can do or whatever, because that nobody cares about that. They care about what can it do for me, and you got to uncover first what do they need.
Yeah. Most of your consultations or your demos or whatever, it should be listening.
hmm
It should be mostly listening because that's where you're really going to get the best like sales triggers in your brain is you
Yep.
hear their problems and then find out what softwares they're using. And this is also the cool thing. When you know their problems and you know what software they're using, now all you have to do is just take all that data. It's like your chat GPT. It's like you take all that data and you're like, they're using this. Here's are the problems. How can I fit my solution into that to be to solve all those problems?
Exactly. And I would say one thing to include in that, Tony, is just to quantify the value, up front in the presentation of the talk. Ask them, what's the value of a lead for you, or what's the value for a typical deal? So that way you have an idea. Because if it's $12, might not be your market, but
right,
if it's $12,000, then all of a sudden, by the end of the presentation, you got a strong value offer. Then you can bring them back. Well, you told me a client's worth 12 grand. How does this work for you? Do you see this making sense?
right,
And yeah, obviously you can't. If they don't see it, they're not your customer.
right. That makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Hey, Keith, how are you?
Hi, Bridget. Good, thanks. I just wanted to ask a few questions about what Keck was talking about with the technical partner, because I think I might be heading down that road.
Yeah.
Well, is maybe a simpler solution, and I'm also a little bit cynical, so I like to protect any sort of business relationship that I'm in, and I've heard lots of horror stories in the real estate space and a few from the software space as well. So could he accomplish everything he needs to, or me, with the SaaS plan, act as the salesperson and the potentially the brand in front of the solutions that he's selling, and then retain control of the customers? So obviously, and then do the technical partner as either an affiliate with a whole bunch of automations that send that technical partner what they need, with automations and the automatic sign up if you're not, you get to the point where you don't have to do a demo for a 297 plan. Is that a safer way to do it? Would you recommend retaining the client even if someone else is servicing them?
How are you doing it, Keck?
Well, like I said, I'm just setting it up now. This is how I've proposed to do it, with the people I'm talking to, my partners. So, and the incentive is, and I ask these questions, it's like, what keeps you from taking my client? And, they said, well, it's just not good business. We wouldn't be signing up to do this kind of thing if that were our intention. Two, that's why we have them pay you first and then you pay us. So that all makes sense. But I'm with you. Your concern is, 100%, Keith, because that happens. And like Bridget and I have a mutual friend that happened to. And you got to have this balance between understanding what you're doing and having tech partners doing the doing. And that those questions of ownership and where the account lives, those are all hard questions, and they're hard answers too. I think at the end of the day, it takes just some trust. I think if you're going to have a builder partner, probably some good agreements, that everybody could agree to, in contracts or whatever, would be wise also.
Actually,
Um,
I was going to bring up that point when I think her name is Heather, was talking about asking for checkboxes or signatures or certain things. We have in my space, we have an exclusive buyer's agreement, and it's a big deal in the US now with the way
mhm.
commissions have changed. But the question you have to ask yourself as a business owner is, am I going to sue my clients? And what's the likelihood of success? And what does that do, to my business and my psyche and that sort of thing? Just a quick aside there is that, you can have a contract and an agreement, but especially if a technical partner isn't in your jurisdiction, how successful you're going to be chasing them all down. But circling back.
Oh, so true. That's why I say it really comes down to trust. I mean,
Yeah. Circling back though, with the ability to send, so your technical partner has their own HighLevel account. That's good. You can give them permissions within the sub accounts that are created through either automations or the SaaS setup or so
well,
on.
now I don't have the SaaS, just to be clear. So the accounts would be created on their SaaS
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
in this scenario.
I guess I'm just asking for myself at this point then with the ability for a technical partner to import into a sub account on your HighLevel account pretty much anything that they're going to build quite easily with a snapshot or a course or a community or whatever the case may be. Is there any limitation that a technical partner wouldn't be able to do with permissions into your own account, Bridget?
No, if they're just a user on your sub account, you don't need to worry about any of these things. The difference is the agency access. You have to have agency access with the API to be able to use Zapier. Now, you need the API to be able to use Zapier even as a sub account, but the agency API is a little different because that's the one that is going to create the sub accounts. And you do need HL Pro Tools Zap to be able to do that.
Okay. This is a talk. I'd like to keep this talk going, maybe even offline or whatever. If anybody, we're all kind of thinking the same thing, comes up with some ideas on how to structure it that might be, just definitely worth talking about. I'm enjoying this talk.
You could make your own Zap also, right? But you just have to pay HighLevel for it.
Yeah. Yeah, actually HighLevel will create your own white label Zap there. But they will create their Zap branded to you. So it's not like creating a custom Zap like HL Pro Tools did. They actually developed their own Zap that has additional features. The features that are available in the API. And this is kind of what I was talking about with Keck in the beginning about how like Zapier is basically, it simplifies a lot of these things because if we didn't have Zapier, we would have an API and we would need to give it to a developer and say, build something to make these talk to each other. But Zapier, it allows us to simplify that process with the API and then also with webhooks. And so we can move that data around. So with HL Pro Tools, the API had the ability to create those things, but the Zap did not. So they had to use that API to build out the Zap further than HighLevel did to give us those permissions in the Zap. Does that make sense? It gets super techy. But
That was a lot.
yeah. Yeah. What's cool though is like when I said, like when I chose Slack and it pulled it up and it wanted me to log in, and I said that sometimes it'll ask you for the API, that's how it's connecting those two things, right? You're either logging in or you're giving access to the API. Now, Zapier on the back end is taking that access and it's doing all kinds of stuff that we don't really see, right? And then we're telling it what to do with the automations, but we're not writing code and doing all these things. Like that's what Zapier is doing. That's also what a developer would do. But we're not developers, or I'm not a developer. And like I literally have told you guys pretty much everything I know about Zapier. I mean, I can definitely, honestly, not to toot my own horn, but I can figure almost any automation out. But when it does come to the APIs and like, coding and things like that, that's over my head. I'd have to hire a developer for that. So hopefully I didn't confuse you guys even more. Rick, you have a question?
Well, I like what you told Keck, especially about celebrating, but I would like to go ahead and take my weekend vacation in advance. Is that possible?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I give you permission.
Okay, good. I need it.
I think we all need it at some point. I do want to make sure that I have all of your names on the wheel here. So if I don't call your name, let me know. Keith, Martina, Anthony, Charles, Don, Frankie, Keck, Manolo, Ray, and Rick. Did I leave anyone out? All right. Let me
You say
share.
Maria?
I did not. How could I have left you out, Maria? I think your name's one of those I just see so often. It's like I gloss over it, you know. I
You
take it.
already know who won.
Yeah.
You already know who won.
The wheel likes Maria.
It's all
Well, you know,
over.
Tony's won the last couple weeks. He's on a roll. He's like the wheel's starting to really kind of like Tony a little bit better the last couple weeks. We'll see. All right, you guys ready?
Got $5 of Maria.
It's Keck.
Whoa.
All right, all right.
All right, Keck.
Fantastic. Good
Uh,
timing too. I need a consultation.
I will send you the email when we're done here.
It's the color of the wheel. When it's red, I kind of win.
I think that's
Pick up that color.
now that it's branded, it's
Yes, it's trouble.
you know, that's the Vision way. We're all about like equality here and experience.
And sharing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right, congrats, Kick.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have an amazing weekend, especially you, Rick, because you're going to Vegas, apparently. So have fun in Vegas. I hope you guys have an awesome week. And I am definitely, even though we talked about Zapier today a lot, I am going to be pulling together some use cases to really dive in a little deeper and show you some of these automations. And just for you, Keck, I will definitely show how to use the HL Pro Tools Zap to walk through that process of like from a webhook and then the rest of that. So if you do need to send that to your team or whatever, they
Sweet,
can
thank
use
you.
that to walk through the automations. All right, guys, have an awesome weekend. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you all on Monday.